Welcome back students. In this video of full stack web development. In the previous video of our series we have discussed about CSS colors, that how we can implement and use colors along with many different type of HTML tags. In that video we have discussed how to set colors on some elements like h1 element, h1, h2 element and head element, how to set the element color, the text color, and also how to set that background color. But in this video, let's see how to set some images into the background. In the last video, we have discussed how to set the colors into the background. In this video, we'll figure out how to set images into the background. So let's say if I want to set background of this body, so output of this code will be, if I run this, so output of this code is this, you can see. So this is the output of that. Now if I want to set an image onto the background of this complete page, I want to replace this white part of the screen and I want to set an image over here, so I have to set a background image for that. So now I want to set this image as the background of my web page. For doing that, we have to select first of all this body. So we will select the body by the name body. Now we will set the background image. Now for setting the background image, you have to pass the URL. URL is basically the path of the image you want to select. Now in this URL, I will select website.jpg. So I will search for website.jpg, which is over here. So this is my website.jpg. So if I save this and check the output, you can see that image of the panda is already set to my background. So this is how you can set images onto the background of some particular element. Now let's suppose you want to set this background not for the complete image but for the partial part of the document. For that you have to define a container which contains the element on which you have to implement the background image. For example, I want to set the background image for this h1 and h2 tag only, but not for this h3 and p tag. For that, I have to put this h1 and h2 in a separate container and this h3 and p tag into a separate container. So in HTML, for that container, we have a concept of this div. So the div tag defines a division or a section in an HTML document. So if we want to divide our complete HTML document in some kind of sections, after that section we can use that section to implement some kind of CSS properties or some kind of background, some kind of border, some kind of colors, anything we can implement. But for that, first of all, we have to divide the complete document into some sections, and for that sections we'll use that div tag. So let's see how to use this div tag and how this div tag works. So I want this h1 and h2 tag, these two tags into my div tag. So I'll create a section, I'll write a container and like this. So I just bring the closing tag after this. Now I will only set the background for this div, not for the h3 and p. So first of all, let's remove all the predefined CSS over here. Now I will select this div. So I will select div directly by the element. Now I will set a background color. I will set a background color of aqua. So let's save this and check the output. Now you can see the background color property is only implemented to the two tags which is inside our container. The outside container element, the element which is directly onto the DOM, which is directly onto the document, is remain unaffected. If I want to add a separate property on these two elements, so I have to put them on a separate container. Let's say I'll put them on separate div. And let's check the output. But there is a mistake. Let me show you what is the mistake. So I put both the element in div and set a property of div that background color is aqua. So the property is automatically implemented onto the both of the divs. Now let me distinguish them with the ID. So I'll write down class 1, and for the second div I'll mention class 2. Now I have to specify that I will only implement this property onto the class 1. So I'll write down class 1 over here and class 2 over here, and I'll implement a separate color, background color, this page, and let's check it out. So you can see, so this is aqua, and so you can see this is the aqua background and this is the base background. So this is how you can create some containers to contain your element and put a common HTML or CSS property onto that particular element. So this is how you can implement divs and containers onto your HTML document. So we'll remove this background color and add background image. Same with the URL, with URL, not URLs, URL website.jpg, and let's save this. So now you can see the images is only implemented to the first div, but not only onto the second div. So the first div we have a background image, on the second div we have a background. So this is how you can implement backgrounds onto the different elements into the HTML. Next, let's say I want to add a border. I want to add a border on this particular part to make it separate or look different from the rest of the page. So for that we'll use border property of CSS. So the border property of CSS allows you to specify the style, width and color of an element's border. So we can put any border onto an element using the border property, and let's see how to implement this border property. So I'll put border onto this second div. So I'll write down border. Let's make this border dotted. Let me show you the output. So this you can see is the dotted border we have. After this dotted border you can have dashed, solid, double. If you want just a straight line over here, the straight line, you can use the solid. So I'll write down on the place of solid, we'll write down solid. Now let's see the output. So this is a solid border. Also there is a dashed border if you want to implement dashed. Here you can see this is dashed. Dash is basically same as dotted, but the dots are quite bigger as compared to the dashed. So like that you can implement as many types of border you have. So you get the border property from, you can find out these properties over here. So this is the property which is current color, dashed, dotted, double, this groove, hidden, these are the type of borders we have. Let's try inset border. So let's save this and try what is inset border. Now let's check out the output. So this is the inset border, which is only onto the two sides of that particular div. So this is known as inset. If we write down outset, there is also an outset. Let's try outset and check the output. So for the bottom two sides of that particular div, you can see the outset one. So this is how you can implement multiple types of borders. So this is all about this video. In the next video, we'll discuss out some more elements of CSS like margin, padding, height and width of an HTML element. So thank you for watching this video.